Welcome, welcome to the Pinfall Podcast. I'm your goddamn host, Mark. Liz isn't here. It's just me. I'm your only host today. Liz ain't here. She thought she got sick of Raw, and so she cowered out. Now I'm here, taking care of business by myself. And you know what? We're gonna ruin this show. I want to make sure that once Liz comes back to the Pinfall Podcast, it's in ruin. She sees nothing but dust, 0 followers, 0 subscribers, a ghost town of a channel, both on Twitch and YouTube. But we still gotta fill out the checklist, unfortunately. This was Monday Night Raw. This was Monday Night Raw, and let's be honest, I had a great time. You know what? I'll admit, this was a great Raw. And I did not keep track of the scores. I didn't average it up, but I kept track, but I didn't average it up. We only had one match that was not great. We had a pretty good showing all around. Championship match. We had some fun matches all around. And one match that just blew away the entire show. So, let's see. This Raw was the best Raw that I have on record. Best Raw that I have on record this year. Alright. So, I assume Liz will want me to start with the fucking, with the news, but, I want to say, we're gonna do a little stipulation with this podcast. We'll do something to make it a little messy. Every time I say the word pinfall, not including now, I will take a drink. So I will do my best to avoid saying that word. And for clarity's sake, the word is pinfall. So you guys in the chat better keep track of that. I'm already 2 drinks in. So we'll see how messy this can get. Right now, I am drinking It Was All a Dreamsicle. Orange creamsicle beer, and it is fucking delicious. But for clarity's sake, the word is pinfall. If I say pinfall any more than now, I have to drink. But if any of you catch me saying it and I don't drink, just say in the chat pinfall. That doesn't count because I was saying for clarity's sake. All right. So I'm trusting you all to keep track of that for me. All right, so let's start with the news. It's kind of busy weekend. I don't know. I don't know how Liz fucking does this. So first off, the most unfortunate news: Paul Orndorff, aka Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Wonderful has passed away. I believe he was born 1949, so that would make him about 82, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But according to, I think it was his son, he had dementia. Very, very recently, he tweeted that. So, best wishes to his family, and best wishes to his family and loved ones. It's very unfortunate. But you know what? That living into your 80s after having a successful wrestling career, it's like living your hundreds. Next up, Varsity Blondes were signed to AEW. They were officially signed. Turns out all this time they were not actually signed to a contract, but now they both are. Both Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison are signed. The only one left is Julia Hart that needs to be signed, and then they will all be official, all elite. Next, Andrade El Idolo has been signed to a Puerto Rican wrestling promotion, Latin American Wrestling Entertainment. No idea if he's signed to both that and AEW. Most likely, since I doubt AEW would let him sign an exclusive contract without offering him like $1 million. But knowing AEW, they would let him sign several or multiple contracts under the All Elite Wrestling contract. So hopefully this brings some good matches in the future. Speaking of signing, or speaking of working other promotions, Alexander Wolf, since his release from WWE, he has now announced his return to wrestling. He will be at WXW's anniversary show on August 7th. I don't know who his opponent will be. It might be announced, but I just have not seen it. But good for him for landing a booking so soon after his release. Next, going back to WWE, Sonya Deville has announced out of nowhere on Twitter the next entrant into the Money in the Bank women's ladder match. And that person's Natalya. Now, announcing on TV just out of nowhere who will be in the ladder match is like one thing. I haven't been loving it. But just straight up announcing on Twitter who's going to be in it, come on. Just like, if you're not going to have a qualifier for these spots, at least just announce it on TV. I don't get why they would do it on Twitter and not just on TV, unless they're planning a major surprise for the last spot. If it's not like Becky Lynch, then I don't know why they would just do it on Twitter and not on TV. But it might all make sense by Friday. Who knows? Continuing with WWE and announcements, NXT announced that on Twitter that Sarray, after Toni Storm was called up to SmackDown, Sarray will be facing Gigi Dolin on Tuesday instead. This is Gigi Dolin's second match on NXT on TV. I know she had the match on 205 Live. She might have had a match on NXT, like a squash match. I'm not so sure, but good thing she's moving into the single scene, and she's no longer in that weird mixed tag scene that she was in around the Dusty Rhodes Cup. So good for her. Next up, speaking of women in wrestling, Chelsea Green debuted at Ring of Honor's Best in the World pay-per-view this past Sunday. So yesterday, she debuted. A lot of people suspected or speculated that she would be Deonna Purrazzo's opponent at Slammiversary this Saturday, but after she debuted at Ring of Honor, best in the world, it doesn't seem like that will come to fruition. So now it's up in the air who is Deonna's opponent. Could be Mickie James, could be one of the Iconics. Who knows? Who knows at this point? Next and finally, last piece of news. Buddy Murphy's first post WWE match was announced during Raw, not on Raw, but it was put on Twitter during Raw. At Battleground is the name of this event. I don't know what the promotion is, but he'll be facing Brian Cage September 18th. That sounds like an incredible matchup. An incredible matchup that might lead to Tony Khan possibly might be a test to see what Buddy Murphy's skills are against some AEW talent. So who knows where this might lead, but that sounds like an incredible match alone that will definitely draw in a lot of seats. Yeah, and Buddy Murphy's been getting pretty jacked since his release, breaking that 205 limit. So he'll be a good match against Brian Cage. Can't wait for that. All right, so that wraps up the news. I know with Liz not here, it's a pretty short news segment. I don't know what to tell you. All right. So I did my best to take match notes, because Liz normally does the match notes, but I did my best to do it this time around, so we'll see how that goes. Once we get to the matches, I can tell you already, it will be a big fucking mess. All right. So we start off with Xavier Woods versus Bobby Lashley, kind of bringing that match back. But before we get to that, Bobby, Lashley, and MVP are in Gorilla, with the ladies cheering Bobby on before the match. Kind of foreshadowing what's to come, but with the whole show in perspective now, this was a good segment to start off with. But with the match starting, Lashley versus Woods, Bobby dropped Woods to the outside. He then drops Woods right onto the stairs, right on his back. He gets Woods back in the ring and shoulders him in the corner repeatedly in several of the corners. I think 3 of the 4. The ladies are then cheering Bobby on from the ramp, which turns Bobby's attention. In the third corner, Woods dodges Bobby and sends a super kick to his head, then gives him a tornado DDT. And then after sending him to the outside, suicide dives onto him. After they get back in the ring, Woods sends a drop kick from the top rope to Bobby Lashley, and then puts him in a crossface. It's been a while since we've seen Woods give a crossface to somebody. At least it's been a long time since I've seen Woods give a crossface to somebody. Bobby then, to break out of the crossface, drops Woods onto his back and body slams him with one hand, and then drops him face first onto the canvas in what looked kind of like a F5, kind of like a mix between a big ending and a F5. Somebody knows the name of that move. I don't know if it's one of Bobby's signatures, but please put it in the chat, because I might be forgetting right now. He runs Woods into the corner post, and then when he gets in the middle of the ring, big spear to Xavier Woods. But as Bobby, he starts flexing in the ring like in WWE 2K20, just taunts to build up the fucking finish meter. He grabs hold of Woods, but Woods gives him an inside cradle and nails the clean pin. Nails a clean pin for the win. Bobby's pissed off. He immediately walks out, leaves the entire Thunderdome, and that leaves Woods and Kofi just laughing in the middle of the ring. MVP is clueless. Speaking of MVP, we then go to a backstage interview with him after commercial. He said yes, or Kevin asked him, so Bobby left the building, and MVP says it's not the big deal you're making it out to be. You rumor mongers can settle down. I can guarantee he will be at the VIP lounge this evening. Whatever is ailing him can be fixed with positive vibes and champagne and the ladies. I can almost guarantee that will not fix him. But still, MVP giving a great promo. We then get Jinder rolling up in his motorcycle, meeting Veer, and Shanky hands Jinder Drew McIntyre's Claymore proudly. That was from earlier in the day, according to the lower third graphic. But then we go to Alexa's Playground with special guest Eva Marie and Doudrop. Oh my god. I love and hate this promo, and I'll tell you all why as we go through it. So Alexa Bliss is introducing the segment, talking about what's happening. Eva Marie says, "Excuse me, were you planning on introducing us?" Introducing me, Eva Marie, and Doudrop. And Alexa says, "Sorry, forgot. Where are my manners?" She turns to Doudrop and says, "I like your name. It's fun to say." And at this point, Doudrop kind of she embraces the name Doudrop, and she's like, "Oh yeah, haha, Doudrop." Oh god, we were all hoping that she would drop Doudrop. She would drop Doudrop like ASAP, because it didn't seem like she liked it. But now she seems to be kind of embracing it, kind of pulling like a Shorty G here. And WWE seems to have not learned from Shorty G, and they're keeping him. She's not complaining about Doudrop anymore, which is a stupid ass name. But as they're kind of going back and forth on haha Doudrop, haha, Eva Marie says, "Stop that." Alexa Bliss says, "So Doudrop, wrap up your time at Monday Night Raw in one word." Eva interrupts and says, "I will wrap it up in one word and say evolutionary. Just like how we won the 8-woman tag team match all because of me, Eva, with an evolution." And Alexa says, "Well, the question was for Doudrop. She was actually my guest, not you. But you're an extra bonus." And Eva says, "Whoa, I'm not an extra bonus. I'm not anything. I'm not a bonus. I'm the star of Raw. I am the headlining superstar. You're not, though. Thankfully, this will be the first time I step foot in this dingy, grubby little playground. I can see," she turns to Doudrop and says, "I can see why she only invited you. Let's go." I love how she insults Doudrop. I gotta stop calling her Doudrop. She insults Piper, and then she's just like, "Let's go, Piper. Let's go, buddy." It's so fucking stupid. I can't say I hate how it's written, because she's written like a stupid ass heel, which is fine. But like, she's so unlikable. She is so unlikable, and I guess that's a good thing, since she's like a heel, like a chicken shit heel. But Doudrop waves goodbye to Alexa Bliss, And then Alexa says, haha, she's silly. They kind of teased a little friendship between Dewdrop and Alexa Bliss, which I would have been down for. Obviously, how the show goes later on, that's kind of blown out of the water, unfortunately. But it would have been a lot better than the Eva Marie Dewdrop relationship we have right now. So we go then to the ring. We have Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky in the ring together. And Jinder says they have in the middle of the ring like a table with like a cloak or fabric over it. Jinder says, so I've had some time to reflect. I may have taken things too far last week. And taking his sword, I mean, he's taken opportunities from me without remorse. I know how proud you are of your heritage, Drew McIntyre. So I'm going to be the bigger man and extend an olive branch. I will apologize and shake your hand and give back the sword. So Drew, come on out here. Drew then appears in the jumbo. Says, Jinder, up here. How are you doing? How are you doing? I know you're a tough bastard. I know you're a liar. Get to the point. Jinder says, Drew, I'm offended. It's me. Think of everything we've been through. I had Veer and Shanky take the sword to get refinished. So, behold, the new and improved Claymore. He reveals, ripping off the fabric, the Claymore that is now broken in half. The blade just, in two pieces. He says, oh, something must have happened. Drew says, oh, wait, this is Monday Night Raw. You can't show up with your real stuff and expect it to be destroyed, and not expect it to be destroyed. It's a rental, but this is the real thing. He shows the real sword. But I don't think this is a rental. Camera pans over to Jinder's motorcycle. Looks a little delicate. He rips off the pipe from the motorcycle, smashes the front of it, rips off the seat, rips off the plate on top of the wheel, rips off the little center console thing, and then just kicks it over. And then they see a pissed off Jinder and standing tall Drew. And at this point, I think we're all confident Drew McIntyre is not winning that Money in the Bank ladder match. So, after that, we go to Nikki. I can't even say it. We go to Nikki. We go to Nikki Ash in Gorilla. It wouldn't be so bad if she had this gimmick and she was still Nikki Cross. Fine. Because this is fucking stupid. The superhero gimmick is fine for the kids, but like this whole thing is so stupid. It's stupid. The way they're hammering it in every promo during the match is all so stupid. Even in the graphics is stupid. Look, yeah, I know it can be monetized easily for the kids. It'll be a great pop. But like, come on, they're taking it too far, or they're not even taking it far enough. I don't know. I don't. They're like taking it too far one direction, not taking it far enough another direction. Riddle runs in. He says, "Nice outfit, Nikki. Wait, you're a superhero. Why don't you fly to the top of the ladder and grab the Money in the Bank briefcase?" Nikki says, "I love superheroes, but I love superheroes just as much as the next gal, but I'm almost a superhero. This is what I can't stand. The fact that they throw in every promo, almost a superhero. I'm not a superhero. I'm almost a superhero. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. They're doing this whole thing just so Karrion Kross can have the name Cross when he comes to Raw, and Nikki can make room for him. It's so dumb. She said there's a big difference, so no flying. Riddle's like, oh, I think I get it. I was almost an astronaut until they said no shoes in space. I wasn't at NASA after all. I was at the food court in the mall. Nikki says, I don't know what you're talking about, but I do know I have a match next. And we go to Nikki Ash versus Alexa Bliss versus Asuka versus Naomi, which was a pretty fun match, honestly. It wasn't bad. It was pretty decent. But in the graphics for this match, they threw in the graphics Nikki Ash, and then below that, almost a superhero. You need to like hammer it in at every moment you get. Why do you just let her name be Nikki Ash at this point? Or just let it be Nikki. Let her just be Nikki. I don't know why you have to throw in Ash. Or the Nikki. Super Nikki. Super Nikki. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with Super Nikki? I don't know. It's just, it's Raw's, and SmackDown doesn't do this so much, but it's Raw's constant need to hammer every detail in. Like, it happens with the recaps, and it happens with everything that happens. They have to recap everything. They have to remind you of every little detail so you don't forget, in case you don't watch the show ever. In case you haven't watched for the past 5 years, they have to hammer in every single detail. In case you missed like a minute of the show. But we get Nikki Ash versus Alexa Bliss versus Asuka versus Naomi. To start off, Naomi sends a dropkick to Nikki Ash and Asuka. Bliss gives a crossbody from the ropes to Naomi. Nikki then rolls up Naomi. Naomi and Asuka team up against Nikki. They elbow back and forth, or Nikki elbows back and forth between Naomi and Asuka. But then Naomi and Asuka have to turn against each other because it's a fatal 4-way match. So we get some synced kicks and dodges. It's really cool. We get a little standoff between Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, former tag team members, now polar opposites. Nikki reverses a Sister Abigail, Alexa Bliss. But then Eva Marie and Doudrop walk out. In character. I can't deny it's in character. Naomi gives a drop kick to Nikki. Alexa Bliss gives a DDT to Asuka, but Asuka kicks out of the pin. Bliss waves to Doudrop and then leaves the ring to have a face-to-face with Doudrop, but walks right past her to confront Eva Marie. Eva takes off her heel to use it as a weapon, but Doudrop slaps Alexa Bliss. Then puts her in a torture rack and throws her over the barrier. It looked very sloppy. She had her on her shoulders like a torture rack, runs up to the barrier, and then kind of lobs her over a little bit. I don't know. I feel like it could have been done a little better. I don't know. Let's see, where am I? But they then look over the barrier. Alexa Bliss is missing. Asuka. We then go back to the ring. Asuka is giving kicks to Nikki and Naomi. Asuka gives a German suplex to Naomi. A near fall on Nikki. And then she gives one to Naomi. Still near fall. Naomi drives Nikki face first into the canvas. But but Naomi gives a belly-to-back suplex onto Asuka. And then once Asuka and Nikki are both face down on the canvas, Naomi goes for the split onto both of them. But they both kick out. Naomi gives a kick to Asuka. Another near fall. But Nikki Ash gives a tornado DDT to Naomi. Asuka breaks up that pinfall. Naomi then puts Nikki Cross in a submission that I don't think I've ever seen before. Naomi isn't normally one to give submissions. Asuka breaks it up once again. Asuka then puts Naomi in an armbar, but she fights it. Nikki breaks it up with a seated senton. She then goes on the top rope to give a crossbody to Asuka. Naomi breaks up that pin. Asuka delivers an inside cradle to Nikki Ash. Kick out. Asuka then puts the Asuka lock on Nikki, but then Nikki rolls up Asuka and wins. Didn't expect a clean win in that match. I expected Eva or Doudrop to. I mean, they did interrupt, but I expected them to kind of get a DQ or something to adjust the victory. But after that, we get an interview with the Viking Raiders. Ivar says, "My opponent tonight is AJ Styles, who has insulted our way of life. Vikings are nothing more than idiotic brutes. We have spectacular hygiene. Tonight, AJ Styles will learn respect to the Viking culture." Eric says, "I have the tall task, the very, very tall task of toppling the Colossus Omos. This is his very first one-on-one battle. I'm going to use that experience and find the crack in his armor. And then next week, we will once again raise the Raw Tag Team Championships in victory. Raid, 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 raid." Then we get AJ Styles in the ring before their match. He says, "Now, before the phenomenal champions put on absolute clinic, I need to get something off my chest. Ivar, Eric, I said some things about the Vikings. Well, maybe you found offensive. So, sorry, it's a little hard to breathe right now. I want to apologize. I never should have called you guys barbarians. What I should have said is that you're hairy, uneducated barbarians who never should have gotten off your wooden boat to come after the Raw Tag Team Champions. If you haven't kept up what's going on with us, well, they've been sticking their nose in our business and cost me an opportunity to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. So tonight, I'm going to take your leg and I'm going to break it. You will tap to the calf crusher. And after that, Omos will have his first ever singles win on Raw, where he will destroy Eric so badly that he'll wish he never took off the ridiculous horned helmet. And at Money in the Bank, we take on the Viking Raiders and tear them limb from limb. And show everybody why we're the Raw Tag Team Champions." And yeah, so that confirms Viking Raiders versus AJ Styles and Omos will be moved to Money in the Bank, as opposed to being the day after Money in the Bank at Raw. This is probably due to Bayley missing out on Money in the Bank due to injury, so they had to replace that match. But then we get AJ Styles versus Ivar, a pretty short match. That's not bad. AJ gives a chop to Ivar, which he no-sells. Ivar then body checks AJ. Omos, while Ivar is running the ropes, Omos grabs onto the top rope and holds it, ruining his momentum. AJ kicks Ivar on the head, gives a DDT to Ivar, near fall, but we get a back body drop from Ivar onto AJ, then a sidewalk slam to AJ. And then Ivar crossbodies AJ, and then does a cartwheel to avoid one of AJ's attacks, and lariats AJ into a near fall. AJ gives a sunset flip to Ivar, and then a Pele kick. Ivar then simply sits down on AJ to pin and win. And then immediately after that, God, I've been yawning so much right now. I'm not even that sleepy. We get Eric versus Omos. Let me turn my on. We get Eric versus Omos. The other side of this feud. Eric tries to throw Omos immediately, but Omos doesn't move at all. Eric dodges Omos's punches, and then gives a flurry of elbows to him. Omos quickly throws off Eric, hoists him up on his shoulder, and then gives him a bear hug. Shortly after, Eric shoves elbows into Omos's eye to break out. Omos throws Eric onto the canvas, but Eric returns with some strikes. But Omos delivers a mean clothesline to Eric and then drops him to win, giving him his first singles win in WWE in his first singles match. Then we go backstage, switching gears to Sheamus and Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. Sheamus says, so defend my title or you'll take action. So you care my face is... Do you care my face is busted? What's so funny? Sonya Deville is apparently laughing. Want to share a joke? Let me explain something. You're gonna give the man who did this a title match? A title match? Here I am ready to defend the title. Here I am ready to defend the title. Kind of switches tones for a second. And then we go to the New Day backstage. Lucha House Party walks in. Lince Dorado still has the fantastic Kane gear on. Amazing stuff. Lucha House Party says, good luck at Money in the Bank, Kofi. Xavier Woods. Wait. I think we get an interview after that. Kofi says, Xavier Woods beat the WWE champion Bobby Lashley. I'm confused at how my notes are. What the fuck is this? What did I write down? So Xavier Woods beat the WWE champion Bobby Lashley, but Bobby Lashley returned to the Thunderdome. Kofi says, of course he did. He's been distracted by MVP. Maybe I should thank MVP. But Xavier then says, why is Bobby back in this building after losing to the video game guy, as he called me? Kofi is going to beat Bobby Lashley to become WWE champion. Kofi says, this whole situation is mind-blowing. Being WWE champion is not about VIP lounges or parties. It's about being on the grind and taking on all corners, all comers. All comers. Fear not, because those days will be upon us once again in front of a live audience after Money in the Bank to become two-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion. After that, we get Sheamus attacking Humberto Carrillo backstage. Officials try and break it up. Sheamus is, shut up, shut up. Don't sleep there. Oh wait, what? Oh yeah. He launches Humberto onto the ground, says, don't sleep there. You have a big championship match next. Damian Priest walks by, checks on Humberto. But then, after commercial... Oh god. After commercial, we get Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville helping Humberto. Humberto says, I need to compete. Pearce says, we can move the match. You're hurt. Humberto says, no, I need this. Sheamus with another excuse. If I can stand, I can fight. I will fight for the United States Championship. And then we move immediately to Sheamus versus Humberto Carrillo. We start, Humberto can't even walk 2 steps. Sheamus immediately gives a brogue kick to Humberto to get the pin and win. Fits a storyline. Everything makes sense, but It's not an exciting match, obviously. But Sheamus then returns to continue beating up Humberto. He then gives him the Celtic smile. I probably said pinfall several times now. You guys are slacking. Gives him the Celtic smile, and then stands on his hair. Damian Priest then runs out, scares Sheamus off, and that ends the segment. Next up, we get Ricochet and Riddle backstage. Ricochet, they have kind of a little buddy moment, and Ricochet starts walking off. Riddle goes in the same direction. Ricochet says, "Oh, you're gonna go with me." I just want to say I'm excited. Riddle says, "Me too. We're both going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm going to watch my favorite Western movie to prepare." And Ricochet says, "Is that Tombstone?" Riddle says, "No, Toy Story 2. Randy is like a snake in my boot. But not that he's a snake or anything." Ricochet says, "I was more talking about, us winning the contract." Riddle says, "Oh, if I win, I'm going to surprise Randy and cash in on the tag team championships." Which, that will be a nice mix-up. We've only had the cash-ins on the world champions. It'd be nice to have like a cash-in on the tag team champions, which we thought we would get when Otis got the briefcase. But alas, that did not happen. Ricochet then says, he'd have to be out there with you, so it wouldn't exactly be a surprise to Randy. Riddle says, "I'll tell him about the cash in there. I'll tell him about the cash in once we're out there." Alright, I got hiccups right now. Ricochet says, "Speaking of surprises though, I've got one for John Morrison." John Morrison, The Miz then walk in. They then spray Ricochet and Riddle with the drip sticks to make them run out. And then we have John Morrison versus Ricochet in a Falls Count Anywhere match. That was a fun ass banger of a match. This match fucking went off. So to start off, we had an arm drag from Ricochet to John Morrison. Morrison then gave a neck breaker to Ricochet on the apron. Near fall on the outside. That's our first outside near fall. Morrison then gives a backslide to Ricochet using Miz's wheelchair to prop him up. Gives a kick to Ricochet's head against the barrier. Another near fall. Ricochet then intercepts John Morrison's Starship Pain attempt into a German suplex. Once they're outside of the ring, John Morrison does a flip onto Ricochet. Ricochet then smashes Morrison's head into the LED boards in the Thunderdome. This would have been the great main event to kind of, wrap up the Thunderdome. Oh, here's Johnny, here's Steven. Hey, Steven. They both stand on top of the barrier, but I think John Morrison's foot got caught or something. He fell. Ricochet kind of walks off fine, then delivers a 450 splash onto Morrison for a near fall, but then gives a backflip off the corner post onto Morrison. When you go to commercial, we come back. John Morrison's pulling out a ladder. He sets it up on the apron, across the apron, or across from the apron to the announce desk. Crossbody from the apron from Ricochet to John Morrison. Miz gets in the way of Ricochet's suicide dive though, but Ricochet dives over Miz onto Morrison for a near fall. They then make their way up the ramp after a little back and forth. Ricochet gives a flying head scissors to Morrison once again for a near fall. We got to Miz, he's slowly rolling himself up the ramp. This was great. I've been loving everything Miz has been doing since his injury. He's just been so entertaining in the wheelchair because it's never the same thing. He's constantly bringing new jokes, new bits to the whole thing. It's great. We then are in Gorilla. Morrison gives a super kick to Ricochet, and then sets him down in a metal chair. Gives a kick to him, knocking him over once again for a near fall. Then throws Ricochet out onto the ramp. Ricochet rolls Miz down the ramp, almost hits the apron. Kind of knocks into Morrison again for a near fall. Then we're back in the ring. Miz sprays Ricochet with a dripstick, but Morrison, after that, Morrison rolls up Ricochet for a kick out. But then we see Riddle rolling down the ramp on a scooter. He grabs Morrison's wheelchair and rolls him up to his back, and then mocks him by laying on his back and being like a turtle just stuck on its shell. This was so good. This was so good. Oh my god, there was no need for Riddle to come out here, but I don't know. It added so much to this match. Ricochet gives a recoil to Morrison, in a counter to one of Morrison's moves. He then kicks Morrison onto the ladder and then splashes onto Morrison, breaking the ladder in half for a pinfall, which is the win for Ricochet, winning the rubber match. Great stuff from this match in general. I mean, this match, it was so fun. It was such a great time. A great finish to this feud before Money in the Bank. We then get an interview with Natalya and Tamina. I forget the interviewer's name. I forget the blonde girl on Raw now. It's not Mackenzie. Mackenzie's NXT. Sarah? I think Sarah's the one on Raw. She asks Natalya what she's trying to prove today against Rhea. Natalya says, "I'm not proving anything. This is an opportunity to do something nobody has done. Hold the tag team titles, the Raw Women's title, and the SmackDown Women's title. I plan on getting the briefcase and cashing in." And then we hear Mandy and Dana laughing in the next room. They confront them. This feud is so weak. They say, "What is so funny?" Mandy says, "God damn it. Well, Natty," she says, "Well, Natty, a plan can't be foolproof if it came from a fool. Ahaha. I don't like your chances. I don't like your odds of remaining champions." And Tamina says, "I like the odds of kicking your teeth down your throats." And she just pushes Dana into the thing behind her. This feud is so weak. This all stemmed from just being in the same room as they're doing a photo shoot. It's so weak. There's nothing to it. There's nothing going on here. It's dumb. I'm gonna take a drink. God, this beer is so good. Was it? Oh, it's a double IPA. What's the alcohol content of this shit? I feel like 3 has just sent me over the edge. Does it not say? Craft be cherished, rules be damned. Oh, 8.5%. Oh god. No wonder 3 is like, it just put me over. Alright, so we then get an interview with Drew McIntyre. Drew says, "I'm not going to pat myself on the back yet. Bigger things are to worry about, like the Money in the Bank ladder match. Let me tell you about the story of Icarus. He was a good lad who flew too close to the sun. I'm Tricky Icky." What a good ass name for Icarus. Tricky Icky. That's what I'm gonna call myself from now on. Or you know what? When Liz is back on the podcast, which should be on Friday, everyone, let's call her Tricky Icky from now on the podcast and on Twitter, in the YouTube comments, all that. Let's call Liz Tricky Icky. Tricky Icky. He said, "The briefcase is the sun. I'll be flying at it." but nothing but the sun will stop me from being Mr. Money in the Bank. This fucking interview, this promo made no sense because he said the briefcase is the sun. And the only thing stopping him from being Mr. Money in the Bank is the sun. But that means the briefcase will stop him from being Mr. Money in the Bank. This makes no sense. I'm so tired of this fucking Drew. I made an excuse for it last week. But now, it's dumb. This whole history lesson, Drew, stupid. It makes no sense. This wasn't even a fucking Scottish lesson, a history lesson. This was mythology. Not even Scottish mythology. This was fucking Greek mythology. Oh, is Icarus Greek? Is Icarus Greek mythology? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember. I don't know if any of you know, but I'm a few beers deep right now, so I'm not the best at remembering mythology right now. This podcast is turning to shit. I hope you all know that. I'm having a good time. I hope you all are too. But wait until you all stay for the question segment at the end of the show. Don't go anywhere. I'll be answering some questions, whether it's fucking about wrestling or not. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program. We have an interview with Rhea Ripley. She says, Natalya challenged me. I don't back down from a challenge. This Sunday, Charlotte won't have a crutch to hide behind. After I beat her, I'm going to give her a reason to need some crutches. And then we go to Rhea Ripley versus Natalya. It was a fine match. It was fine. We immediately get a Kimura lock from Rhea onto Natty. Natty then tries to roll up Rhea, kick out. We get several covers and roll-ups. Natty escapes Rhea's Riptide. Rhea escapes Natty's Sharpshooter. Rhea accidentally drop kicks to Mina when she meant to drop kick Natalya. Natty gives a discus lariat to Rhea on the outside. But Rhea drop kicks from the top turnbuckle onto Natty. This is when they're back in the ring. And gives a nasty Northern Lights suplex. But Natty then turns around and gives a sit-out powerbomb to Rhea for a near fall. Rhea puts on submission to Natty. But Natty rolls up to Rhea for a near fall, then delivers the sharpshooter. Rhea rolls Natty through into the turnbuckles, then gives off the Riptide for a pinfall. God damn it, I said pinfall. Which is the victory. But then Charlotte runs out, attacks Rhea. Figure 4. Charlotte does something fucking awesome. She crawls herself to the apron, pulling Rhea. Kind of drops off the apron and is kind of hanging there in the figure 4 position. And as what's the new commentator's name? I can't remember what his name is, but he gives an added stretch to Rhea's knee. And then Charlotte, after letting go, says, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, Rhea. I don't know what that's in reference to. But it's something. I don't know. That was a dumb line to say. It doesn't line up with anything. Then we get MVP with the ladies in the suite. MVP says, we need to make sure that this VIP lounge is the best. Smiling and positive vibes. If Bobby needs a back rub, he gets it. If he needs to refill his champagne, refill it. We then get an interview with Charlotte Flair. She said it's not about the pieces in the game, it's about the player. They will realize it's game over at Money in the Bank. It was a different tone of interview than what we normally get from Charlotte Flair. She was very quiet and calm and low energy. She wasn't yelling at the camera this time. She wasn't criticizing the interviewer. She was very low in her tone. And then finally, the last segment in all the Thunderdome the VIP lounge. So MVP says, let's introduce the almighty Bobby Lashley, the WWE champion. Bobby does not come out. And Bobby says, come on out, man. Ladies, come on, help me out. The almighty WWE champion, Bobby Lashley. MVP puts on a little bit of a voice as he does this. Bobby Lashley comes on out, no jacket, his tie is like undone, he's looking disheveled. MVP says, where you been, man? Jump in, the water's fine. And Bobby goes off. He says, you've said enough. I need to talk to MVP alone. And all the women leave. He says, Kofi was right. Everything he said about you causing me to get soft and lose my edge was right. I lost to Xavier Woods. I should have dismantled that twerp. I'm furious right now. You trying to cheer me up with champagne and women? MVP, I appreciate everything you've done for me. But this bullshit needs to stop now. Back to business. The only enjoyment I want is to destroy every single soul for my WWE Championship. Bobby then wrecks the set. He shoves MVP as he does so. He said, Kofi, I'm gonna... What the fuck did I write? I'm gonna do this weekend what I should have done weeks ago. That's what I said. I'm gonna go into Money in the Bank, the WWE Champion, and I'm gonna leave the WWE Champion. So I hope you bring your family and friends and the rest of the WWE Universe, because I'm gonna dismantle you and do everything I said I was gonna do. I hope you're ready to fight for your life. I'm gonna cave your skull in. I'm gonna fold you into a box and send it to the circus with your little clowns. After this Sunday, your career ends. And that is what we end Monday Night Raw on. Now, that ends the show. That is the end. No, it's not the end of this show. That's the end of Raw. We're going to continue with the best of the night. And while we're doing the best of the night, if you want to leave a comment in the chat for the question segment, please do so. Ask a question to me. I'm the only one on tonight. But if you're watching on YouTube, leave a question to me or to Liz. Right now, Liz is just Vince McMahon. It can be about wrestling, it can be about not wrestling, it can be anything. It can be about us, it can be about hypotheticals, literally anything. Alright. So, the bests of the night. Promo of the night. I'm not going to do what I normally do because it's not needed. Since Liz is not here. But promo of the night, you know, I'm looking through it. We got Jinder and Shanky, we got Nikki and Gorilla. Trying to think of promo of the night. Viking, no, not Viking Raiders, not AJ in the ring. Not Sheamus, not New Day. Oh, didn't mean to double click. Black. Not Sheamus and Umberto, not Pierce and Umberto, not Ricochet and Riddle. Not definitely not Natty Tamina, not Drew interview. Not Rhea's interview. You know what? Promo of the night this week, and I have nobody to contest with. All the best of the night are on me tonight. Is VIP Lounge. VIP Lounge is my pick for promo of the night. Bobby Lashley finally gaining focus and us switching gears. I think this was the moment where I realized Bobby Lashley is retaining at Money in the Bank. Because they wouldn't go with a sudden character change unless they planned a little longer title reign with him. Which, albeit, is unfortunate for Kofi Mania, but you know, it'll hopefully lead to a better title reign for Bobby Lashley. Alright, so wrestler of the night. Going match by match. First up was Xavier versus Bobby. I'm going with Xavier. Xavier looked fucking awesome. He looked... I mean, he always looks great in every match he's in, especially this one. After that, we had the Fatal 4-Way between the 4 women. Alexa, Nikki, Naomi, and Asuka. I'll go with Naomi. Naomi looked the most creative and on top woman there, especially with that split across Asuka and Nikki. After that, we had AJ and Ivar. Ivar is 100% my pick. He looked fantastic in this match. And that's difficult to do against AJ Styles. Then we had Omos versus Eric. I'm going with Eric. Or, not Eric. I'm going with Omos. Omos looked really good for his first singles match. He didn't look fantastic because, you know, I mean, Omos is not a very skilled and diverse wrestler. But he did a good job. He did a good job. He did what he does well. But then after that, we had Sheamus versus Humberto. I gotta go with Sheamus because Humberto did literally nothing. He took a brogue kick. That was it. But then we had Ricochet versus John Morrison. Falls count anywhere. I am going with Ricochet 100%. Ricochet looked incredible. I kept being reminded several times in this match that they have been squandering Ricochet's talent throughout his entire time in the main roster. And hopefully now they see it. Because Ricochet is an incredible talent. He really is. And we saw that in this match. He was delivering amazing spots and was just such a joy to watch in this match. And then finally, Rhea Ripley versus Natalya. I'm going to go with Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley looked really good for once. She hasn't looked very good at all at her time in the main roster, but this match she looked smooth. She gave a clean dropkick to Tamina. She looked confident for once, which I hope we can see from now on. I hope she's found that confidence in her wrestling ability being on the main roster, and hopefully being in front of a crowd will help her in the long run. But for Wrestler of the Night tonight, I have to give it to Ricochet. Ricochet put his body on the line in that Falls Count Anywhere match and gave us some incredible spots, some of the best spots we've seen on Raw recently. This whole matchup has been incredible since the beginning, and this match was just even better, mostly because of Ricochet. He is an incredible talent in the ring, and hopefully we see more. I really hope we see more of him in bigger and better feuds in the future. Alright, so now switching gears to how did I say was I going to say to Money in the Bank? I meant to say to Match of the Night. Match of the Night. So first up, we'll go from my least favorite to my favorite. Once again, we are switching up how we go through Match of the Night. It is no longer in chronological order. Instead, it is from my least favorite to my favorite match. So my least favorite match coming in with a 4 out of 10. Sheamus versus Humberto Carrillo for the United States Championship. It was needed. It was what should have happened in that match. But it wasn't an entertaining match. I would have loved to see Humberto try and go his hardest against Sheamus. Ultimately to lose and be embarrassed, but alas, we just got one brogue kick to end the match. After that, next up we have with a 5 out of 10, Rhea Ripley versus Natalya. This was a pretty fun match. I mean, it didn't have a ton to it. It was fine. The Riptide to end it was pretty sweet. And Rhea finally looking like on top of her game was pretty good. But the match itself kind of had a very slow momentum. But wasn't bad. Ow. Just kick the fucking desk. Next up we have, again, 5 out of 10. Eric versus Omos. This was a win that needed to happen for Omos, beating somebody as tough looking as Eric. Thought it was fine. It was pretty good, pretty decent. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. Next up, again, 5 out of 10. Bobby Lashley versus Xavier Woods. It was good. It was good. I didn't like the result though. Xavier should not have pinned the WWE champion. The WWE champion should not have gotten this pinfall. But at the end of the day, sorry, I'm like slurring my words a little bit. At the end of the day, God, I just splashed that all my face. How does it happen? It ultimately helped the story and is ideally pushing forward this character change for Bobby Lashley. So it wasn't all that bad. Next up at 6 out of 10, AJ Styles versus Ivar. It was really fun through and through. But the win from Ivar onto AJ, it didn't feel all that convincing. He just sat on him. And then AJ couldn't kick out as if he's never fought a larger opponent before. I don't know. This felt a little weird. But it was still fun throughout the match. So 6 out of 10. Next up, again, 6 out of 10. Nikki Ash versus Alexa Bliss versus Naomi versus Asuka. This was a really fun match that ultimately just had a bunch of one-on-ones until towards the end when it was Nikki, Naomi, and Asuka. That part was a ton of fun when Doudrop and Eva Marie came in. It was annoying that they came in, but at the same time, it worked for the match. So I can't criticize it that much because I still really enjoyed it. And then finally, the match of the night with a 9 out of 10. Yes, a 9 out of 10. I fucking love this match. John Morrison versus Ricochet, Falls Count Anywhere. This match was so much fun. They utilized Miz in the wheelchair so well. Whether it was Liz just fucking, I think Liz just knocked herself out in the other room. Yeah, they utilized the Miz so well in his wheelchair. Riddle coming in was the next best thing. It added a nice comedy beat to the match, and then the match itself didn't skip a beat. It was so fun. They did the Falls Count Anywhere aspect so well. The only thing that would have made it a little better is if a fall happened on the outside to really establish that Falls Count Anywhere stipulation. But still, very fun match. One of my favorites on Raw in the past month. This was a great match. This was fantastic. So, to run it back, promo of the night, VIP Lounge, wrestler of the night, Ricochet, match of the night, John Morrison versus Ricochet. Alright, so now finally to end the night, we have our questions and answers. We also have a lot of comments on YouTube. We answered that question. Let's turn to YouTube first. If you have a question on Twitch, don't forget to leave it in the Twitch chat so I can answer it. And we can talk some shit about Liz while she's gone. You know, she chose to be away, so We answered that question already. Let's see, is this... Okay. From Milam on YouTube, who do you think consistently has the best ring attire in all of WWE, including NXT? I don't know if I can give a solid single answer, but AJ Styles, I'm always a fan of his gear. His gear's always a lot of fun, just because it's like the same thing, but the colors all being different. Like every week, it's different. It really works. But Johnny Gargano, like every takeover, he gives some brand new gear that always fucking rocks. And then on regular episodes on TV, he doesn't slack at all. So I also want to give it to the New Day, like Kofi and Xavier, for their gear, like their Power Rangers and Mortal Kombat gear, but they never really change it up. It's always kind of been like, for the longest time it was the Mortal Kombat gear, then for the longest time it's been the Power Rangers gear. But I will say Johnny Gargano. If I can do one for men and one for women, men would be Johnny Gargano. Second, for women, it would be Candice LeRae, because Candice, in those giant wings, in her fucking way gear, she is always to the nines in her gear. She's so good. And I guess it's fitting that they're husband and wife, because they're both so good with their ring gear. And I think we have another question on YouTube. But okay, so what's your guys' opinion on bleeding and blading in wrestling? AEW obviously does it quite a bit, even though it seems kind of passe in today's wrestling, and WWE hardly does it. I know some fans wish WWE did it more. I don't wish for more blading, because it's one of those things that I don't want anyone to do. Like, I don't want anyone to intentionally inflict more harm to themselves just for the sake of a match being a little more intense. But if somebody does it, I'll still respect it. But if it's just bleeding, like Cesaro bleeding on SmackDown, I wholly respect that, because that was done for the craft. It was done so well. I entirely respect Christopher Daniels going through the rest of that match on AEW, despite literally being a fountain of blood. I entirely respect it. Blading, though, I wish it wouldn't happen. I honestly wish it wouldn't happen, because you don't need blood to make an intense match. Obviously, it adds a little bit, but you can still have a very intense match without there having to be blood. For example, Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, in either their first and or second match, they didn't have blood. They didn't have blood in that match, and I still loved both of their matches against each other. Let's see another match I rated 10 out of 10. Cesaro versus Roman Reigns at Backlash. That didn't have blood, and yet it was a fantastic match. Adam Cole versus Pete Dunne versus Karrion Kross versus Johnny versus Kyle at Takeover in Your House. I loved that match. Didn't have blood. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. None of their matches had blood, and yet they were fantastic matches. I mean, of course, you have the occasional like lip biting and all that, but you don't need that to have a great match. So I don't think blading is necessary. I don't think it takes away from the product if it's done well, but you sometimes have cases with For example, Cody Rhodes, I know he's been known for his unnecessary blading in moments that doesn't necessarily call for it. That's done poorly. But when blading is done well and it can be pulled, like it can be justified as maybe it wasn't blading, maybe it was just they hit their head on something, then that's done well. But never is it necessary to the quality of the match. I think, yeah, I don't think it's ever necessary. Although, I think the only time bleeding was necessary was Young Bucks versus SCU, because it was only because that match really works. Since all of the bleeding happened, it works as Christopher Daniels' retirement match, leading Frankie Kazarian to be even more motivated to be the elite hunter and go after the Young Bucks and just fucking annihilate them for what they did to his best friend and tag partner. I think that's the only time in my recent memory that bleeding has been crucial to the quality of a match. Like Seth Rollins and Cesaro, you could have had, like, if the bleeding had not happened, it would have still been an incredible match. It would have been as intense. So, yeah, it's rare that bleeding leads to big change in quality for the match. All right. Oh, god damn it. So, tomorrow's NXT. I'll be here alone again. Liz will be out. It'll be just me. I'll make this show even more trash, if not just as trash as it was today. Yeah. I'll bring some surprises tomorrow. Expect some surprises. Alright, thank you all so much for watching. Follow and subscribe on the YouTube and the Twitch. Our YouTube is the Pinfall Podcast, in case you missed any of our episodes. If you want to catch up, all of our past episodes are on there. If you're watching on YouTube, the Twitch is twitch.tv/the Pinfall Podcast. Definitely join live. You can join in the chat and have a conversation with us as we're recapping the episode and reviewing the episode. Our Twitter is at Pinfall Podcast. I am at the Mark Cameron. Liz, despite her not being here, is at Eliza Elian23. And once again, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for NXT. Johnny Gargano versus Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship. We'll see you then. It'll be an exciting episode. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.